Chapter 1. Introduction. Monuments of the Past. In the beginning, man was created in the image of God, but within a few centuries, man was acting more like the beasts. Then, for nearly 6,000 years, prophets tried to restore him to the divine character that once was his. The history of man has been a sorrowful story. He has blindly advanced in science, but morally regressed. Vast and impressive civilizations have risen to great power and glory, but through moral suicide, they have crumbled and vanished. During his greatest triumphs, man became his own worst enemy. From the brief sketches we have of the earliest civilizations, men possessed the same virtues and vices that he does today. And, in proportion to that moral spirit in man, he is governed by his religion. A man's religion, or system of beliefs, is that strange emotion that can change his character into a saint or a sinner, a gentleman or a savage. In essence, then, the study of religion is the story of mankind. Most civilizations have left us little more than monuments in stone. Individually, they left headstones; collectively their empires left us ragged stone columns, roofless buildings, and partially standing stadiums. From the Great Pyramids of Egypt to the marble pillars of Greece and Rome, we can learn little about their rise to greatness and their subsequent decline to oblivion. In the jungles of Central and South America, vegetation covers the exquisite stone carvings of an architecture from a superior race, but huddled in straw huts nearby are their descendants who know little or nothing of their predecessors. All of the silent stone monuments that survived those nations ought to be dedicated to the stupidity of man. And we are on the top of that great superslide ourselves. We have learned about their history, but we have failed to understand what it meant. History fills the pages of our school books, but we have failed to learn the lessons. Man's dedication towards military advancement has been truly remarkable. From the sword to atomic bombs, he has learned the art of self-destruction very well. From hand-to-hand combat to the obliteration of great cities, the pages of history are dotted with his own blood. And finally, he has created the miserable feat of supreme disaster, for he has brought himself into the irreversible position of not being able to control the possibility of his own total destruction. Man has always been willing to kill someone else for what he believes. On the other hand, there have been very few who were so convinced of truth that they themselves were willing to die for it. It is rare indeed to find men willing to sacrifice everything, including life itself, to sustain truth. In reality, man often ignores truth and embraces fiction, fantasy, and superstition. From Walt Disney's wonderful world of make-believe to Star Wars science fiction, we are constantly being fed some unrealistic myth. For example, we are first told that we came into existence by a low-flying stork that drops babies down chimneys. Then every winter some Santa Claus night rider delivers goodies to every house in the world between sunset and sunrise on December 25th. He, too, comes down the chimney. It takes a whole year for his squadron of little elves, living on the frigid icy polar cap, to build these presents. This and other grandstand allusions are supposed to typify the birth of Christ, but hold on, there's more. We also commemorate Christ's resurrection by running around the bushes looking for colored eggs that the Easter Bunny always lays on a certain Sunday every spring. To say nothing of Halloween, New Year's Eve. But, in our schools we have brought science into this dream world to make some corrections and improvements. As we grow up, we become better prepared to hatch out of this delusive dream world. Education teaches us to put an end to the stork baby conception. As college students, we are now capable of understanding that man was originally sprouted from a one-celled animal or a little bug or worm that crawled up out of some swamp, grew arms and legs, and became a man. This is really more unbelievable than the stork story. Our intellectual educators have substituted one delusion for another. By comparison, it seems that truth has been hitchhiking while fiction is flying jumbo jets. Our confused young students are now ready to believe anything, that is, except the Judeo-Christian history called the Scriptures. Nowadays they call that fiction. Those biblical records are so unbelievable and controversial that they are forbidden in most schools. The teachings of Moses and Christ are considered illusions, to be disregarded, but the theories of Marx, Lenin, and Darwin are highly respected. Our present educational system is geared toward the destruction of true religion and the true God. But without religion, men are without morality, and where there is no honor to God, there can be no honor among men. In such an environment, mankind has resorted to the cruel and vicious waging of wars for his material, political, and social gain. Their God is named Mammon. Henry Thomas perceived the nature of this problem when he wrote, "It would seem, therefore, that there is a definite historical law which governs the life and death of nations. This law may be summarized in a few words, as follows: the nations that live the longest are the peaceful nations of the earth. That is, the nations that renounce their warriors and follow their prophets." Childhood of the Human Race, page 15. The true prophets of God were preachers of peace. They put spirituality to the forefront and emphasized the teachings of God. When deity was written in their laws, he was also in their homes and in their hearts. Spiritual vigor swept away military vigor. And it is only upon this premise that nations will ever have lasting peace and prosperity.